Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you an update. We're looking at the rear diff and suspension assembly for the 1950 Ford F47 that we're doing a rotisserie restoration on. And then just beside us is the whole front, the live beam with the suspension for the front area. So what I'd like to do is just share with you a brief update. So we'll just start with the rear end. What we've done since our previous video is we've cleaned and degreased. Obviously it's been separated from the frame. We cleaned up all the hardware, all the bolts, and then we degreased and cleaned and treated this whole assembly so that we could apply this special two-part black epoxy. So we've got 3 coats of this commercial grade two-part epoxy, and we wanted to make sure that we sealed not only the back of the drums where we have our backing plates, but we wanted to make sure that we did all the suspension and all of the hardware. There's quite a bit of corrosion, and it's fairly common because the leaf spring U-bolts they're normally just regular mild steel, and over time they create a lot of surface rust or collect a lot of surface rust on them and look kind of nasty. And then we have our lower perch here where the bottom of the shock attaches to, and that was quite rusty. So basically the springs and the pivot points on the springs, so the leaf spring, and then we have these pivots here, we want to make sure they were all cleaned properly, and then we'll re-grease them once they're on the frame. But we had 3 of the 4 were seized. Excuse me, so the pivots were seized, so we wanted to make sure that we cleaned them all up. So we disassembled them, cleaned them, reassembled them, and then wanted to make sure that everything's protected with this epoxy paint. And then once it's on the frame, we'll grease them up, and then we'll make sure we put anti-seize product on all of the hardware. And then if we come along, I think the camera person can come around the back of the diff, and you can see we have our inspection cover and our filler bolt. So that's all nice and clean and looks as it should, brand new, like a 1950. And then along the top, previously the other garage, they had run some brake line. They used the cheap brake line. They ran it across and it was kind of nasty looking, and then they just used a flat black paint, I'm assuming an aerosol can, and sprayed over everything. It wasn't very durable because we could basically scratch it off with our nail. So we knew it wasn't going to last. So that's the main reason why we removed all of that paint and treated it properly so that we have this epoxy. Now, so you come around this side, you can see once again all of these pivots, pardon me, all these pivots are freed up as they should. And then this is now the driver's side. If we come along here, you can see our brake drum. We've degreased and cleaned the drum. It's painted once again with 3 coats, so it's well protected. So when the rim is on there, we're not going to have to worry about any rust later on. And then as we come along to, which would be the front section, where you have your pinion and so on, we check the seals, everything is fine. Pardon me, so now that everything is all cleaned up, it's going to be ready for the reassembly. So that's on the rear section. Goodness. Now we come to the front of the 1950 F47, and there's a couple things that I left, and you can see on the outside drums and the hubs. You'll notice that we didn't paint those. The reason for it is we're doing a power disc brake, front disc brake conversion kit, and the conversion kit that we're using, we're going to use the same spindles and rear backing plates, and then the drums and everything for the drum setup will be removed, and then it will be upgraded. Pardon me. So you can see once again, similar to the rear, the springs, all of the hardware, and we have our steering shaft. Everything has been cleaned up properly and painted as it should be. So this is a little bit shinier than typically it would be, but our client wanted to have a much cleaner look than what it was like before. So now that we have this front section done, along with the rear, what we'll end up doing is in the next day or 2, the frame that we shared with you in a previous video, it's all painted and cured properly. So over the next couple of days we'll be installing the rear diff and suspension assembly back to the frame. We'll put the wheels back on the rear, and we'll do the same thing to the front. Pardon me, and then we'll start running some brake lines for the rear section, and then our disc brake conversion kit will be arriving soon, so that we'll do another update with that. So in our next video we'll share with you with the front and rear sections back on the frame and the frame off the rotisserie. So this is the 1950 Ford F47 truck. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.